Hello and welcome to today's episode of Abortion Figurations. My name is Nikoletta Pikramenou and I'm a member of the Abortion Figurations research team, and I'm also a founding member and legal expert at the Intersex-led organization Intersex Greece. This is why today we will be talking about intersex rights and abortions of intersex fetuses. But let's start with what is intersex. Intersex people are born with sex characteristics that do not conform with the typical definitions of female and male. What does it mean? It means that a person can be born, for example, with XY chromosome. This is the male chromosome. A person could be born with an XX chromosome. This is the female chromosome. An intersex person can be born with XXY chromosome. Intersex is an umbrella term used for several intersex variations that are completely natural, and intersex people are born healthy. However, what happens when an intersex baby is born is that in many countries, there are surgeries performed to conform the baby to the binary. For example, a baby born with a larger clitoris will be mutilated so that it is conformed to the female sex. The intersex movement started around the 90s, and it started outside of Europe. Then, the intersex movement started growing in Europe as well. Right now, we have OII Europe, which is an umbrella organization comprised of different intersex-led organizations around Europe. And actually, right now is expanding to include more organizations that are outside of Europe. In Greece, we have Intersex Greece. And in 2022, we achieved legal change. What happened is that we became the 5th country in the world to ban surgeries on intersex babies. Other countries are Malta, Portugal, Germany, Iceland, and after Greece, Spain followed. However, we should not recognize only the work of the movements that have achieved legal change, but also recognize the work of other movements. For example, the movement in Poland, an organization that is called Interaccja Fundacja, also had a really big achievement in 2023, where in a report published by the Committee of the Council of Europe called ECRI, working on issues of racism and intolerance, managed to depict in this report the situation of intersex people in Poland. And actually what is happening in Poland is that surgeries are taking place, and also there is a lot of interphobia against intersex people coming especially from teachers and the priests. In Greece, there was again an ECRI report that happened just before the legal change. This ECRI report also mentioned intersex surgeries, like in the case of Poland. But in this report, something else was mentioned, and this was selective abortions of intersex fetuses. This is a topic that is not heavily discussed and not as much promoted by the movement as the surgeries. And this is because probably it is a quite sensitive topic on the one hand, and on the other hand, we don't have a lot of data. However, in the case of Greece, we have moms organizing, talking against injustice and what happened to them when they were pregnant. Actually, doctors recommended to them to proceed with abortions or terminations of pregnancies when they were 5 or 6 months along the pregnancy. And the reasons behind that was that the babies would be freaks of nature or that they could be gay. So based on homophobic comments, doctors proposed that these pregnancies are terminated, even though these fetuses are completely healthy. But when it comes to selective abortions of intersex fetuses, we don't have only data coming from Greece. We have data coming from other countries as well. For example, there is a research published in 2011 where it says that in several countries in Europe, these kind of abortions are performed. For example, in Finland, in Denmark, in the UK, and we're talking about huge statistics. 74% of the cases are aborted, 66% of the cases are aborted. So we're talking about a real issue that is not tackled yet. This is happening because intersex is under several lists. For example, is under the list of the World Health Organization of birth defects. And also, it is included in the list of ICD-11, meaning that even though intersex people are completely healthy, they are presented in these lists like people who have a severe disease and hence they need to be fixed. The problem is that right now we see all these legal reforms going out around the world because the movement, as I already mentioned, is really strong and is growing stronger. For example, I mentioned already the reforms when it comes to the legal frameworks, but we also have more rights that are recognized. For example, legal gender recognition of intersex people, for example, discrimination against intersex people and the inclusion of the ground sex characteristics in several legal frameworks around the world. So we see that actually the law is moving forward. And under the law, sex is not binary anymore, but it's a spectrum. So the question here is when the sex could be depicted as a spectrum in medical protocols, medical practice as well.